Okay, let's make some bread. So my bread has only 3 ingredients: flour, salt, and water, and of course starter, which is flour and water. So I always make a 500-gram loaf, and that's 500 grams of flour. And for my flour, I generally do a 60% whole wheat, which is 60% whole wheat flour, or 300 grams, and 40% all-purpose flour, 200 grams. So I've got the kitchen scale. I'm going to press the tare button just to zero it out, and I'm going to add my whole wheat flour. So that's 300 grams of whole wheat flour. I'm going to add my all-purpose flour, 200 grams of all-purpose flour, and I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of salt. There's one. Use a kind of little. I like a little more than 2 teaspoons, so the teaspoons are slightly heaping. I'm going to stir that up. Make a little well in the center. And add my water. I go for a 70% hydration, which means 70% of the quantity of flour, which was 500 grams, so that's 350 grams of water. I obviously measured this all ahead. I should have zeroed out my scale, but it's showing 859 grams, so that was 500 for the flour, about 10 grams for the salt, and 350 grams of water. Just going to stir this up. Just a quick stir is all it needed. We're looking to get like a nice shaggy looking dough. Okay, and next thing we're going to add the starter, but we're going to let this sit for 45 minutes to an hour. I generally do 45 minutes because I do all my steps at a 45-minute interval. So I'm going to set my timer for 45 minutes right now. We'll see you in 45 minutes. All right, it's been 45 minutes, so it's time to add the starter. It's kind of messy, so you want to have it helps to have your hands a little bit wet, so when you wash your hands, just leave them wet, a little bit wet. I'm just gonna take off the lid here, and actually I'm just gonna go get my hands wet. Not just wet, washed. Okay, so it's a good idea to make a little bit of a well in the middle of the dough here. Just to make a little bowl, and then we're gonna take the starter, and this starter should have 300 grams of starter in it, and we're going to use half of that. I should actually get the scale here. I always like to use half of my starter. With starter is generally 300 grams, so we're going to use 150 grams. Some recipes say use 75 grams of starter or 100 grams. I don't normally weigh it. I just pour in about half the bottle, but anyway, we'll weigh it today ish. Let's just go with that lump right there. That's 172, close enough. So now what I like to do is just, grab a corner of this, fold it over one time, turn it 90 degrees, grab a corner, fold it over, grab a corner, fold it over, grab a corner, fold it over. So the starter's kind of in the middle. It hasn't leaked out. I'm gonna just give it a bit of a fold, just fold it over a couple times, and I've actually kept it pretty clean. Normally it might start glooping out, but I'm keep folding it over so it's actually mixing it in. And then we're gonna just put that lid back on, and it's gonna sit there for the next 45 minutes until it's time to do our first coil fold. Also, because we've used our starter, we actually want to replenish it. So you've used the starter, that's the time to feed it. So we used half of it. It's normally 300 grams. So now we have, we want to add 75 grams of flour and 75 grams of water. So zero at the scale. There's 75 grams of flour. Zero. 75 grams of water. I like to mix it with a fork. And then I'm just gonna leave this out on the counter for about 2 hours, and just to let it grow a little bit. Some recipes will tell you you actually want to feed your starter, you know, a few hours before baking, and you know that's generally a good idea. I find that I just don't have the time for that, but you know what they say is, you know, you feed your starter and you mark it with a piece of masking tape, and then you let it sit, and when you mark the level with masking tape, and when it's gone to double that, the starter doubles inside, they say that's when it's ready to bake. I don't bother. Okay, so now we're ready for the first coil fold. So I got my clean, wet hands, and we're going to just grab the dough like this, and we're just going to, the coil fold, we'll move the bowl out of the way so I have some more space, and as you can see, is we're just going to wrap this around the hand, turn it about 90 degrees, grab it again, wrap it around the hand. It's just 1, 2, that's all you do. Back in the bowl. Put it on. We'll see you in another 45 minutes. All right, so it's been 45 minutes, and I'm gonna do another coiler. I'll just change the angle on it this time, just so you can see it differently. Again, just rotate. So each time you do a coil fold, it's just one, rotate 90, one more, done. All right, here we go for another coiler. Ooh, we're starting to see bubbles in this, which is a good sign. All right, here's the final coiler. Can't remember how many I've done. Count the videos, but did them every 45 minutes. Started around 4 o'clock. It's now, almost 10. So we're just gonna let that sit for another probably half hour, and then we're going to we're gonna start making it into a loaf. Okay, so the next step after the dough is ready, I probably could have done a coiler or more too on this. I might be rushing this loaf. It's not, it kind of bounces back, but it should be a little bit more soft. But anyways, running out of time, so we're gonna make a loaf. So dry hands for this. Going to bring in a cutting board. Everything has got flour on it. Put the loaf on the cutting board, and what we're going to do is just pinch it over and just bring two sides. And what we're doing here is we're stretching the dough on one side by just bringing edges together. And I just bring edges together, rotate it 90 degrees, or just do this a few times and flip it over. Got a nice loaf that's got good surface tension. We're going to leave that for about another 15 minutes. Okay, so we made our bowl about 15 minutes ago. Now we're going to find that into a loaf. So we're going to flip it over. We're going to kind of make it into a little bit of a square. Then we're going to fold the first half in, up into the middle, pinch it. Take the other half, fold it up into the middle, pinch it. Then we're going to bring this together, both sides, pinch it. Now we've made that, so we pinched this loaf. It's got tension on the surface. This is going to be the bottom. What we're going to do is we're now going to put this in which is just a little wicker basket. It's got a cloth lining. Just like that. We're just going to grab a towel, and we're just going to cover this with a towel. And we're going to put that in the fridge overnight. And then in the morning we'll pop it in the oven. Okay, so we got the oven preheated to 500 degrees, and we've got the loaf out of the refrigerator. It's been there overnight. And so what we're going to do is we're going to open up the oven. So the oven's preheated. The Dutch oven has been in there, and it is well at 500 degrees. So we're just going to take this and we're just going to carefully plop that into there. We're going to use our bread lame, and we're going to give it a couple nice little scores across the top. This allows it to expand properly, and it'll expand at the cracks. We'll put the lid on, close the oven, and we're going to set a timer for 20 minutes. Okay, so it's been 20 minutes. We're just going to change the temperature to 450. And set our timer for 10 minutes. Okay, timer has gone off. It's now been in the oven for a total of 30 minutes, so 20 minutes at 500 degrees, 10 minutes at 450 degrees, and now for this final 10 minutes of cooking time, we're just going to remove the lid. And set the timer for another 10 minutes. Okay, it's been another 10 minutes, so we're going to turn the oven off, take a look at our loaf. But if you have an oven door that just cracks open, it's good to leave it in there. This is actually looking kind of done, so I'm going to leave mine open. Otherwise, I'd probably leave it closed. But they say if your oven cracks, it's just good to leave it cracked open and just let it sit for however long you want. 20 minutes. You want to cool the loaf before you actually eat it. Otherwise, your knife is just going to get all gummed up. So you usually want to wait about an hour before you eat. But otherwise, it's ready to go. Enjoy.